Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Perform Happy podcast. I am bursting at the seams with excitement to talk with my guest today. I have with us Becky Beaulieu, who is a champion culture coach, also a two-time NCAA champion gymnast, and the head coach of the University of Wisconsin Stout for 18 years. But she has transitioned into this new role, helping everybody figure out team culture. Becky, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rebecca. Glad to be here.
Okay, so let's start. I love to start at the beginning. Can you kind of talk us through how you had this, career in gymnastics coaching and then you pivoted to become solely focused on team culture? Can you let us know a little bit about that journey?
Yes. So I too was a gymnast. Grew up doing soccer, gymnastics, a little bit of softball, track, but really by high school focused on. I did play soccer all the way through high school, and I was a level 10 gymnast. And went on to the University of Wisconsin lacrosse and competed there for 4 years, and then got to be an assistant coach under the awesome Barb Gibson. From there, I went to graduate school and became a licensed school psychologist, worked in that field for a couple of years, and then came back to Wisconsin and took a job at the University of Wisconsin Stout as the head coach. And then the last 3 years, the mental health liaison for the athletic department. And that was all the athletes, 18 sports, now 19 sports. Yeah. Team
Wow, that sounds
culture.
like a lot, like to be the mental health liaison for an entire college. I mean, I imagine, especially post-COVID, that was a big job to do for the university.
It was. Yep. And we had a really good counseling department too. So, it was working hand in hand with them and referring athletes there. Yeah. But culture, how did I get into that? That's a good question. So I'll take it back like 2018. Our collegiate gymnastics team went into the regional championship ranked fourth out of eight in the conference. And that year we had a little bit of this going on within the team. And ultimately, to be honest, that's like on the responsibility of the head coach, in my opinion. But we had an athlete on the team who told her teammates, go ahead and book your spring break flights because we're not going to go to nationals. And the top three go, and we were ranked fourth. And so, sure enough, that year we finished dead last, eighth of eighth in the conference. And that next year decided to make the culture of our team the most important thing. And do we have a clear vision that the team really has come up with, and core values, and is the staff and the systems within a team aligned? And what does like our daily standards look like? Not what they're written on the walls, but what do they really look like? And then that next year, we went from eighth out of eighth in the conference to first. And with those 19 young women and Seth, Helen, what they taught me or we taught each other, I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to pick kind of the biggest, most important shifts that the team made that led to that huge improvement in performance, what were they? What were the critical changes?
That's a good question. I would say just making sure that everybody is, I've used the term, and it comes from John Gordon, but like on the bus and moving in the same direction, and there were a couple that were not, and then no longer were on our team, either because they decided to or it just wasn't a good fit for them. And while those decisions are really hard, and I lose sleep about them, but my opinion as a coach should lose sleep about them, right? Is that it's making the decision that's the best for the group and the whole.
Wow. So were you actually put in a position where you had to ask some athletes to find another team?
Yeah, we have tryouts every year
Mhm.
and team cuts, and I would say yes, I've been in that position several times, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know a lot of the listeners are college hopefuls and recruiting is always on their mind. So I'm curious, as a head coach, I'm sure obviously that was part of your process. Did you ever not invite an athlete on your team who was physically capable because they were not a culture fit?
100%.
Mm.
Yeah. And I would drive and watch a recruit practice, maybe 10 hours round trip. And, I can think of one in particular who had this beautiful, huge layout, Yurchenko full. But I just realized, from work ethic or showing up late or, not going for skills kind of thing, sitting down, just lots of different reasons that it wasn't in the best interest of the team or her, probably. Yep.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And then on the other side, did you ever have an athlete who maybe wasn't the most talented? It didn't come the easiest, but they were such a positive influence that you just had to have her anyway?
Yes. All the time.
Um,
Yes.
And how does that typically turn out? So if you bring on this freshman, you're like, okay, I'm taking a chance on this kid because she's got heart, she's got drive. I mean, I'm assuming these are the things you're looking for. She's got passion. She's a float all the boats up to the top kind of kid. How does that typically impact the team, 2, 3, 4 years later?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like such a big believer that we are who we're surrounded by, and we feel the energy of people within 20 feet of us. But how do those work out years later? I mean, I can think of a couple of scenarios where, then that kid made the lineup and competed on an event. And actually, one of them was just an All American. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a kid who I used to coach. I talk about her like every other episode because I mean, she was that kid who just was full of heart and passion and hard work and grit. And you just can't help but want her on your team, and
Yes.
she went to UCLA and didn't compete until her junior year. But that time when she can be, I mean, the entire team was like so excited to see her get out there and put up a bar routine. Like, it like gives the whole body goosebumps, that she was in there for 2 years without competing and then she makes lineup and it's like the
And like
best.
I'm a big believer too, even in those 2 years where she didn't make lineup, she still has so much value to add. And the person who sets the springboard, right, and writes down the start values, they matter. And that star athlete can't do what she does if, her teammate doesn't know where the springboard goes. So,
Absolutely.
as a coach, trying to really value each of those roles because they all matter.
Absolutely. And I think about I have a friend who's a coach who has a pack of Excel kids who they all graduate as gymnasts. I mean, they're not going to college, but they love gymnastics and they stay through it. And the way that he keeps the kids in the gym is that he has this amazing team culture and they all have roles. And so, is that something that you're actively helping teams create? Like, this is your leader, this is your supporter. Like, is that something that's sort of like got a spreadsheet, or is that something that's more organic? Can you tell us a little bit about helping teams find the role for each kid on the team, even if they're not the star?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, at least what in my working with teams now, it's more organic. And I think a lot of it is getting the athletes to come up with that themselves. What is my role? And even having them in the preseason, okay, who do you think like the starting lineup is? What does that
Mm.
look like? Right? Where
Mhm.
do you fit in that? And what is my role? And asking them to come up with that.
Now, can you even do that with adolescents? Where you line them up in July and go, who are we going to be on this team? And not everybody's got to be the workhorse and not everybody's got to be like, is that a conversation that coaches would even have with the kids to go like, who are you on this team? Would that be
Yeah.
worthwhile?
And have them write it down, right? Do a first draft of it. Who am I on this team?
Mm, I love
Yeah.
that. I think that the whole podcast is about healing my inner 14-year-old. So forgive me when I go to myself. Like I was too tall and I was too old and I was a leader, but that wasn't what was being acknowledged on my team. It was the little bitty kid who could do things easily and didn't need a spot and was not afraid to go on the first try. So I think back and go, well, if 14-year-old me would have actually been a designated leader on the team, I might have felt useful,
Mm-hmm.
which might have allowed my passion to stay there. Well, so I think for coaches out there to actually take that moment and go, okay, what there is a strength in every kid. can you let them know what that is? Like one kid might just be your hype kid. They're just like getting vibes up. That's
Yes.
your job. But you don't have to hit all your routines, but you got to get the vibes up on the team. We know you can do that. And I think a kid, like a bubbly kid, would be like, I'm all over it, coach. Put me in,
Yeah. And I think even, having these adolescent kids, what is the team like without me? When I'm not there, what is the team like? Right. And that pump up kid or your tall leader who's super passionate, like they all matter and they all make a difference. And when they're not there, right, it's usually noticed.
Okay, but then you got the kids who, when they're not there, everyone's like, whew, okay, we can focus now. Or so if you, as a coach, let's say just the coach perspective, if you got this pack of adolescent optional gymnasts and there's a kid who's just, or maybe a few of them that are kind of just sucking the life out of the group, what are some things that you can do? Or a parent, if this is one of your kids, or what are some things you can do to shift that, to get those kids to not suck on the group like that?
Yeah, that's hard. But I would say definitely don't sweep it under the rug and address it. And, like I'm a big believer in rewarding publicly. But if you're going to have a hard conversation like that, you do that privately, right? With just that athlete. But yeah, asking them, what would the team be like if everyone was like me? Right. And was I a fountain to the team or a drain with my actions and energy?
Yeah.
And tomorrow's a new day. And
Yeah.
and I think this generation really wants to be led differently than even 3 and 4 and 5 years ago. And in my opinion, they don't need like us to judge them. We just need to meet them where they are, and we can ask questions to get them to come up with their own answers.
Yeah, they're judging themselves already. They
Mm-hmm.
already know they're not perfect. They already
Mm-hmm.
know that didn't feel good enough. So to let them lead, I think is so critical. And I've always taken that stand with, if we're going to create a mission statement, kids, come here, let's get the whiteboard out and let's start writing stuff down. Or like, what's a value? Do we have what are your values? So, and I think you talk about like the kids actually should be the ones creating the mission and the vision and the values. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, at least with the coaching staff, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. In this day and age, yes.
Yeah. So I think about my business and like I came in with my mission and my vision. Or no, I had my vision and my values. And then my team, we come up with our mission. And
Mm.
so that seems to be kind of good in our environment because then every single meeting, I'm like, these are our values. This is our vision. This is our mission. Like ad nauseum, I'm reading this stuff to them. How do you suggest that, gymnastics teams incorporate a vision or a mission or values into there? And like, I'm using all those three things sort of like vaguely and broadly. Do you have sort of a, like every team should have a blank and you should post it here and you should use it in this way? Do you have some guidelines around that?
Yeah, I do think every team should have a vision and values. And when they don't, is because I think it just like teams' performance skyrockets when they know who they are and they have an identity and their values give them like a true north, right? Or a path, or think of it like guardrails on the highway. I mean, I have worksheets to help develop both of those things. But even if the coach, comes up with by doing a little bit of research, like 3 different kind of vision ideas, right? And present them to their team and have the team vote on which one feels like it hits home for them. And same with the values, their core values. Like if the head coach comes up with, say, 2 of them, but then the team comes up with 2 of them, I do think it's something that the head coach does need to be connected to, or it's 4 or 5 years from now when the athletes change, I think it's hard to lead a team if you don't feel connected to that. But if the team comes up with a couple of them, I mean, core values, it's asking questions like what values are present when we're at our best? What are a few of our team's favorite memories? And jot those down, and then kind of what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
What does our team need right now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I think
watched the NCAA regional, and I saw California. One of their core values, one of their athletes talked about is joy. And I love that. I figure you'd love that.
I do love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like, some of these teams and at the collegiate level, there's a lot of pressure that's on them. And some of it they put on themselves, and some of it the situation just puts on them. Right. But, it just breaks your heart when they compete very tight and
Mhm.
individualized. Right. And if they can just like, I just want to go shake them or push them off the beam. Honestly, I want to go push them off the beam and just like leave the joy in your sport.
Yeah. So, okay. So if you know, like you've got those little tightly wound kids, those I call them like the perfection monsters that are just so hard on themselves. As a coach, what can you do to help kind of like, energetically shake them up a little and be like, hi, this is fun. We're having fun, right? I mean, that's sort of my strategy is like, let's like have a giggle and remember this is just an after school sport. But is there something within the culture of a team that can allow kids to have more fun? Or is it simple as saying, we are here to have joy? Like, Cal, let's be joyful. I mean, how do we shake them up a little and get the fun back in as a group without then losing, the efficiency of a team? I think that's a
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts there. That's worked with a few of the teams that I've worked with recently. But I think to make a bet with them, I've seen that work really well. So at least at least 20 out of 24 routines today, right? That you all can pick an outfit for me and the other coaches to wear from Walmart or Goodwill, and we'll wear it to the next meet, the warm up, and you can video it and put it on TikTok, kind of a thing. But then they're so focused on the funny outfit and the pink leggings that my coach Rebecca is going to wear that they are just like in the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The team I do a lot of work with locally, coaches are always playing some kind of game. They always got beads they're adding to strings. They've always got like feathers that they've brought in from nature. Like there's somebody's always sort of winning something for some different reason. And it's, very low stakes. It's not like, or else it's sort of like, hey, if you have an outstanding day, you might go home with a feather today, or you might go home with a bracelet today. And just that, the kids are like, okay, I will hit
Mhm.
5 cast handstands in a row for that. Sure. I mean,
Yep.
just to make it more fun, I think it makes the coaches have to flex their creativity muscles, which is, I mean, the hallmark of a great coach, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
So just a funny bet like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even at the collegiate level, they love it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, coaches, I dare you. Tag us in the post. I want to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
So,
one other idea about
yeah.
that for those tightly wound perfectionist type of kids, is asking them to compete or play for someone else. So before they salute, right, that they turn around to their team or the four other individuals that are with their crew in their gym and say like, I'm competing for Jill today, I'm competing for my mom today. But to turn around and literally whisper that, then they get up on the beam, and it just like takes the individual pressure off of their shoulders when they're doing it for someone else. I've seen a lot of success with that.
Oh, awesome. And that's a great thing to practice in practice, just to go, okay, I'm just going to do this one for my coach who shows up every day and works so hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to do this one for my little brother who's so proud of me no matter what I do. I think that's a great kind of experiment to try and practice to go, how does this make me feel? You
Yeah.
know, versus like
And
I'm
it's
doing it for my mom. Oh no, I don't want to let her down. Oh my gosh, I'm so
yeah,
stressed. I have to
that's
be
true.
perfect, So you
That's
want
true.
to try it, I think, before you
Yes.
go compete it, because then you'll know, oh yeah, this does fill my heart in a way that makes me kind of loosen up and
Yeah.
flow a
And I
little.
will say at, the state meets, the regionals, westerns, nationals, it works. Then enjoy every bit of the success for you. But in that moment, it really helps just take the individual pressure off of themselves. And then all of a sudden, they're all doing it together. And they're as invested in each other's routine as they are their own.
And that's something over and over that I'm trying to tell these club gymnasts, if we could have this be like college where you get rushed by hugs when you finish your routine and there are so many high fives and everybody's going crazy over your routine instead of like over in the corner looking and don't want to see because I don't want to get out of my zone and I got to go next. It's all about me. Um, have you noticed a difference when teams become more team oriented and less individual oriented? What happens to outcomes?
Yes, completely. And I've started even just documenting and doing research about this, but there are special teams with that championship culture where the sum of what athlete A does plus or athlete one plus the sum of athlete two score is greater than three, right? Where there is this synergetic, like it defies the math. Yes, completely.
So teams out there and kids, individuals can actually attempt this to go, I'm going to go be a team player today at the meet, even though, yes, I technically am competing against my two best friends who are in my rotation and in my age group. We're going to go out there and we're going to be so proud of every moment and then just notice what happens to everybody's performance. It's another great
Yeah.
experiment to go like, friends, let's have the best practice we've ever had. Let's just do it. Let's just see
Yeah.
what we can do today and like experiment with that and see. And I
And
see the
what it
kids.
does is it elevates all of them, right? And then enjoy that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one of you whose idea it was and it worked, then it gets to be your idea again tomorrow. And then you just became
Mm-hmm.
a leader and you
Mm-hmm.
just became an inspiration. So,
Yeah.
okay, leaders, are they born or are they created? Where does leadership come from from your perspective?
I mean, I think there's probably some of both, right? But I think it's definitely a skill that can be developed completely. And like I've said before, like in years where when I was a coach, we didn't have leadership, I'd kind of, again, take that on my shoulders and like, how can I teach that better and give them space to lead? Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's both. I think, there are a few of leaders that are just, it's very natural to them.
Yeah.
But I think it can 100% be developed and taught
Yeah.
and learned. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah. And
all
I think,
needing at least one, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it all is a matter of perspective because I think about, the really shy level 8 gymnast who looks up to her level 10 teammates and is like, oh, they're so amazing. Like, well, turn around and look at the level 6s who are looking at you, who think
Mm-hmm.
you're incredible. Like, if you just shift and go, well, actually, look how far I've come. And wow, I have done some amazing things. And maybe I can inspire kids, even
Mm-hmm.
though I'm a little more shy or I don't love leading warm up or I have a hard time speaking up, that here's your challenge to, see if you can be a little bit more of a leader with the younger athletes in your group. Or,
Yeah.
I think everybody you can build a muscle if you just start working it. So that there's
Yeah.
your
And
there's your
introverts,
challenge, kids.
yeah. And introverts and extroverts and shy and outgoing, like we can all lead. And the
Hmm.
world needs more leaders, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And more
Yeah.
female leaders.
Yes, I
Yep.
agree.
Yep.
Yeah,
So even though
absolutely.
it's out of our comfort zone, I mean, isn't that like where our best self lies? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So just
Absolutely.
in some small way, encouraging those kids to speak
Yep.
up and use their voice, and hopefully their clubs support that and allow for
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So on that note, culture in gymnastics is
Mm-hmm.
a uh, it's a tricky one. I mean, it's one of my passions.
Changing so much. Yes, which
Yes.
is great.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. And so if you're a parent and you're looking out there at, the gym you've been at for 10 years, that it was the way it was. And then now you're kind of like, I don't know if this is like my kid is having mental health struggles and there are a lot of kids having struggles. And I don't really like the way that the coach talks to the kids. What's the parent's role in helping strengthen the culture within the coaching environment? Or is it just to go find a better culture elsewhere? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think the parent can absolutely, request to meet and sit down with their daughter and the coaching staff and just share their experience. And if after that it doesn't get better and you've communicated and you've given it, some time, then yeah, it's a parent's job to do what's in the best interest of their son or daughter. Mhm.
Yep.
So is my daughter being supported? right, are the words and actions of those surrounding them. And even if it's teammates, right, I don't think it matters. That's all culture. But are they being supported and lifted up? And do they feel like that when they drive home?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if the answer is no, I personally wouldn't keep my daughter there.
Yep. Yep. Same. I mean, I think communication is huge that
Mhm.
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. And if they don't know, then they can't change. So bringing awareness can be useful from a kind and curious place, not a blaming or shaming place, but sort of a let's all take accountability for the culture of our team. How can we do better? What do you guys have planned? How can we step this up? Like, happier kids perform better. So everybody wins
That's
if the
good.
kids feel
Happier
nurtured.
kids perform better. Mm-hmm.
They do. I mean, you
Yep.
see, like I'm such a UCLA nerd, but like I see those girls on floor and I'm like, they're happy. They're
Yes.
happy. They're having a really good time. So
Yep.
why are 10-year-olds like having to be little robots out there, you know?
And I would argue too that their best is when they're given permission to not only like be happy, but be who they are authentically, is where these gymnasts, that's where their best is.
Yeah. Yeah. And some, again, like the introverted kid, may be at her best with a totally serious face. That's okay too. That
Mm-hmm.
she's all business and that is
Mm-hmm.
okay. And you get to be
Yep.
you out there. And if you want to
Yep.
be, wild and free on the floor, like do it. And if you're like gonna stay a little more in your shell, that's okay too. And I think
Yep.
everybody can be respected as like that's you and that's just right.
Yeah.
Okay. So something that I've heard you say that championship teams have in common is that they are on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get on a mission? If you're like herding cats with your team right now, how does one get the team on a mission?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard, and the teams that I work with, it's really like looking at what are their blind spots, or kind of what are their strengths and what's missing, right? So I will say I don't think teams are on a mission and have that championship culture with all leaders by example. I haven't observed that yet. So their leadership by example is important. And if we have a team of all leaders by example, they're not likely yet to championship culture. They might be
Mm.
close in this constructive culture, right? So that's important. So how do you get them on a mission? I think making it theirs, the athletes, giving them more say. Do you think this A assignment is best for our team today, or B, and allowing them to vote on it, right? So giving them more of a say and ownership in it, that certainly helps them um, be on a mission. And then encouraging verbal leadership, especially for those middle school, high school athletes, collegiate
Okay.
athletes, that they're speaking up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So like a team of 12 who are all doing what they're supposed to and working hard actually still has room for improvement.
Yes.
And what does verbal leadership look and sound like?
Yeah, it looks different. I can tell you that, but it's calling your teammates up out of love. So let's say that a team does balance beam, and maybe one was kind of like on her phone, and one's talking about this test that she's got, and for whatever reason, half of them hit their routine, and that's okay. Like I'm all about, I think, give them permission to make mistakes, right? That's where we learn. Um, but it might look like one of them speaking up and saying like, hey, we're better than that, and let's do that again because we're better than that. And that's out of love. It's out of love. So it's calling your teammates up out of love.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so I think about, okay, the beam coach is like, well, what? Okay. You hold on. This like you think they could do better and you want them. Okay. I mean, I as a beam coach would be like, all right, let's do what she said, I think, right? I mean, that would be so cool to see somebody really stepping up and being like, hi, we all have better in us. Can we do that again, coach? I
Yep.
mean, that would be so, I mean, it would be different than like these little robo gymnasts that are only just listening to the beam coach.
Yes.
So, and I like that you're not saying you're calling them out. It's not to put people down. It's not you are letting us down. It's we have more in us. Let's try that again. And I think, there are a lot of kids out there who are like, oh, no, not me. That is not me. I'm not going to say that. That's terrifying. Is there like a little baby step version of that that kids can start to take?
Yeah. So, if you have teammates who are talking poorly about other teammates or the coaches, right? Or, maybe they're cutting corners on conditioning, right? It's just to go over and have a conversation like, hey, we're better than that. You're better than that. And you're worthy of greatness. And it'll take this to get there. And that's hard, right? That's hard. But I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's really the team's team. And the truth is, on average teams, the coaches are leading. But on championship teams, the athletes are holding each other accountable and the coaches too.
Mhm.
On poor teams, no one's leading, right? But if you're trying to get to this championship team, then the athletes are a part of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does this only apply when championship is the goal? Because I know some teams, they're like, whoa, whoa, we've never won anything. Like, we're happy to just, get a medal or two. Like, we're an up and coming team. Does there have to be winning as the goal, or can it be improvement? Can it be, is for some teams, I think talking about like, let's go win the state meet, they're like, that's for that team. I don't know. We're not good enough yet. Or I wonder if there's a way to kind of like step up. I hate the word expectation, but the kind of like
Standards.
interest, the standards. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
there a way to step up the standards when there's kind of not like a super strong reason to like, well, we haven't done this yet, but hey, what if we actually kind of went big this season? What if we wanted to step up the standards? I wonder if there's a way to introduce that to a team that isn't used to winning yet.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, like I'm a big believer the winning is the byproduct, right? And to be honest, teams where their sole goal is winning, then they're likely in this competitive culture. And that's where a lot of professional sports are, and then there's some of this going on. Whereas if it's about relationships and results, that's that championship culture. But yes, completely. Winning is the byproduct. And I think that they can focus on the process. I mean, I want to be in a place where I'm growing and getting better, and I think, either we're growing in life or we're dying, right? I mean, that's the other extreme of it. But yeah, I think that they can focus on the process and some process goals and let the outcomes take care of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And this sounds like a call out there to teams to know where you're going, to know what you're working toward. There are some gyms out there who are like, we are here to win. We are here to create collegiate gymnasts. We are here to, pump out elite and hopes and tops. Like, we are here to be the best. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, that's going to attract a certain type of family and athlete. And so I think when you choose your gym, you choose your culture on
Mm-hmm.
some levels, but then also you can help evolve the culture of the gym that you're at.
Yeah.
I think parents can, and definitely kids and coaches can. Because, yeah, like what if one day one kid goes, how come we never win state? Or how come we don't take home banners? Could we get a banner? Like, what would it take to get a banner, guys? And everyone's kind of like, yeah, we want a banner. I mean, that just somebody bringing that idea to the group is maybe enough to start kind of stepping up the standards.
Yeah.
But then the part of me that's like, oh gosh, these little tightly wound kids that are already so stressed out now feel like I have to do this or else. Can you set a high standard without creating perfection monsters? you know?
Yeah. Because I mean, I think perfection like stifles growth. So I was just really like, go mess up, that's okay because we learn from it, so those are awesome things too, right? But yeah, I do think in the United States that there is a bit of like just perfectionism in sports, and if we can just give them permission to go mess up, then again they grow and we all learn from it. I mess up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Even just to add that question of, do you think that we might fail on our way to that banner? Absolutely 100%. If you're not failing, then we're not trying hard enough stuff.
Yeah.
So if we're going to challenge, there's going to be a lot of failures, and that means we're trying, and that means that like we're on the right track. I think that's
Yeah.
a good way to temper
Just
then.
like encouraging them too that their value as a person, their self-esteem, their self-worth should not be based on their output on the balance beam, on the floor, on the vault, on the bars, nor their score. Right.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm working with a gymnast right now, but it's like, you're enough just as you are. And this comes from Natalie Walsh's book, The Coach at Illinois. You're enough just as you are. And there's nothing you're going to go do at Westerns, right? That makes you more of a person, more of an athlete, or less. Like, you're enough as you are. And when we can come to it from that wholehearted place, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love to have goals, whether they're individual or team goals, that are that are supported underneath by a commitment to self-love and acceptance no matter what.
Can you say that again? That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Goals are supported by a commitment to self-love and acceptance no matter what. So that means, yeah, you can aim to win nationals. You're allowed to want
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And you also know that no matter what happens, because there's so many things outside of your control in a situation like that, that you can control how you show up, your attitude, your actions, and you know that no matter how it goes, you love and accept yourself no matter what. And that actual achieving of the goal is just the cherry on top. It's
Yes.
more the like focusing in the effort and putting the drive towards something and getting that motivation in check. That's the purpose of goals, not
Mhm.
actually the reaching of them. The reaching of them is, like you say, like that's just the icing on the cake.
Yep. It's like really about who they become in the process.
Mhm. Oh,
Yep.
so good.
Yeah.
Ah, so where do you hope, Becky, that the culture of gymnastics goes next? So it is in this evolution. How do you envision the future of a healthy sport of gymnastics from a culture standpoint?
Yeah, just a place where coaches seek input from their athletes and give their gymnasts a voice. And I think our job now in 2024 is to really raise the voice, lift their voices up. Yeah. And allow the athletes to have more of a say in it than when you and I grow up,
Mm.
and take ownership of their own gymnastics, of their own team. And again, I think it's our job to support that.
Absolutely. That like full circle, that comes back to one of the values that complete performance coaching has, our four values. And one of them is everyone has a voice and a choice. That's
Oh,
every member of our team, every athlete we coach, every parent, every like that, every that is the vision that we're working towards. So you have confirmed that we're on our way and our bus is moving in the right direction. And hopefully all you moms and kids and coaches out there are going to get on the bus and move toward a place where kids can be safe, have a voice, have a choice, and then be free to just be happy and thrive in this amazing sport. Oh, yay, so good. Becky, thank you so
so
much.
good.
I mean, I could talk to you all day, as you could tell. If people want to follow you and get more tidbits on culture or reach out to you, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, on Instagram or Facebook at Championship Culture Coach, or our website is www.championshipculturecoach.com.
Awesome. Becky, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, it's been awesome. Thanks for having me, Rebecca.